Did I pursue wars in France largely due to vanity? No. There's always a good reason to go to war in France, and that is killing Frenchmen. Well, Matt, 'tis I, Henry VIII, Henry Tudor, King of England, Ireland, Wales, and the best part of France, if I may be so bold as to state, though that isn't saying much, for it is a miserable foul place that breeds hers. Anyway, today I am playing Lords of the Fallen, a game in which I believe so far I kill peasants. Let's see how it continues for today. This disgusting artifact here apparently returns me to life. Interesting, because I have been returned to life. I've been brought back to play video games. This one appears particularly bleak, again reminding of my several trips to the continent. Perhaps I shall take a swing at these fellers up here. Oh dear God in heaven. This feller looks like just about ready to kick off. Well, he's a little bit less tough than I would have thought, and he is on fire, which usually is a state of weakness, I've found. That dog has a particularly ugly face. Well, this chap has turned out to be quite tough, I must confess. Still went down like a sack of shit in the end, didn't he? So if you're wondering, I am indeed the Henry VIII, Henry Tudor. My father was Henry VII. I am of the line of Tudor, descended from the Plantagenets and rightful kings of England. And I won't hear anyone in chat make any statement about me not being the correct King of England or being some kind of usurper. My father took the kingship fair and square from that, quite frankly, right bastard Richard. Don't think I shall seek assistance, thank you. I am King of England. Or at least I was. Now I believe Germans are in charge.
And to strike down all those who would see our will defied.
A female knight. Well,
even as our suffering patience to the exact.
She does tend to go on a bit. Oh, dearie shit. And I'm dead. Well, I suppose it's appropriate, as I am the defender of the faith, even if maybe, perhaps, the Pope not super keen on the fact he gave me that name. Well, I suppose actually he wasn't around to regret it, was he? Because that was good old Leo, who I really didn't have many problems with. And, popes in general, quite corrupt bastards, but Leo was a good sort. Yeah, Leo was a good sort, had a good sense of humour about things, and he was the kind of pope you could get on with. Maybe I'm supposed to go this way first. I mean, that woman was quite tough. And again, some of you might be thinking, oh, Henry, he's a raving misogynist, had, 3 of his wives killed. Well, yes, I mean, I had 2 of my wives killed, and to be quite frank, they did have it coming, Anne was shagging her brother, as far as I, was told, and I do believe that. Yes, alright, in retrospect, may have been a little harsh of me to have 2 of my wives' heads cut off. But when you think about it, if you take that as a percentage of wives, that was only 2 out of 6, which is less than half. And if you round down, also, when you think about it, I had far more wives than most of you have, which means I love women. And how could someone be a misogynist if they've had that many wives? Some of the historians out there, and I don't want to name any names, but I was listening to Tom Holland and Dan Sandberg the other day on a thing called a podcast. And I must say, they came off as a pair of real shit-talking pussies. Never would say the things they were saying to my face about how both of my daughters were better kings and queens than I was. Which is frankly a calumny. I mean, did I overspend a little bit when I was in charge of the country's, finances? Yes, maybe. But I like a party. I like to have fun. Is that a crime? Did I pursue wars in France largely due to vanity? No. There's always a good reason to go to war in France, and that is killing Frenchmen. Now, I say, I don't really like hitting women. That's why I often hired people to do it for me when it came to killing my wives, which you may say is a cowardly act, but I mean, what kind of man do you take me for? Like, I'd actually execute my own wives. That would be truly sociopathic. I was actually very nice to them when they were alive. Up until, they had to kind of be removed. I was quite a charmer. I've often been accused of being quite a romantic, actually. There's a word that some people may be using to refer to me as a simp. I've seen a couple of people saying, oh, Henry VIII, he was the biggest simp in royal history. Now, what I understand this to mean is someone who's overly willing to sacrifice things for a woman. Now, that's absurd. I'm not a simp. Did I destroy my country's relationship with the Pope and Spain purely to get off with Anne? Yes. Well, not purely. If anything, I was kind of liberating the people from the strictures of Catholicism. You could argue I'm a freedom fighter. Jesus Christ. I've died again.
A poor substitute.
I do wish he'd stopped saying that because, you know, it kind of hits a little close to home. Some of you may not know this, but I was not actually supposed to be king. I was second in line. My brother Arthur was actually meant to be king. I was, if you will, the spare. And, well, he died before he ever got to become king, and I sort of took up the mantle, as it were. And, you know, some have argued that he probably would have been a better king than me. You know, I was a poor replacement. And I did marry his wife, yes, Catherine, a beautiful woman who sadly was barren. Very great tragedy between us. She could have kids, but only girls. And I do obviously love my daughters. I'm such a girl dad. But I will admit that the day Mary was born was the worst day of my life until the day Elizabeth was born. Just utter shattering disappointment. Again, I can respect, you know, I'm not shocked to find a woman a challenging fight, you know, because again, my wife Catherine was a real fierce woman, a real fighter. Again, absolutely humiliated the Scottish at Flodden, where I believe their king died like the absolute fool he was. I mean, dying on the battlefield, it's so War of the Roses. I mean, oh Christ. Ow. Leave him on fire. And I'm dead again. You know, as I said, so I have no problem admitting that women can, in some cases, be even up to half as good at fighting as a man can be. You know, as I said, Catherine did an able job of maintaining the country when I was off kicking arse in France. Would I have done a better job? Some of you are probably asking. And obviously, I'm not going to dignify that with a response, because the answer is obviously yes. You know, some people have chosen to speculate that I perhaps wouldn't have handled the Spanish Armada as well as Elizabeth did, which, again, is utter nonsense. One, speculating on those kind of things is pure conjecture, and two, obviously I would have done better. I'm a bloke. God damn. Oh, god damn it. And I'm dead again. You know, sometimes I will say it just takes a few goes, doesn't it? If I'd had the chance to have a number rumble with Francis at the Field of Cloth of Gold. I'm not... Right, okay. So a couple of things I want to clear up before I go into this fight again, right? Field of Cloth of Gold. So, and again, I believe those two complete jackanapes on that Bloody History podcast, I heard them insinuating this as well, and I believe some of the histories record it, that, all right, Field of Cloth of Gold's happening, everyone's having a good time, me and Francis aren't allowed to face each other at the joust. So, oh, typical calumny. Oh, bloody Henry has too much to drink, gets a little bit too in his cups, and challenges Francis to a wrestle, and Francis easily topples him. Right, shut up. Now, that is utter nonsense. It was more complicated than that. I was very tired. It had been a long day, and Francis is very rude, and he was talking a lot of trash before then. I must say, and I was well within my right to challenge him to a friendly wrestle, and he took it way too far way too fast. I was joking. I was like, "Oh, Francis, come on, let's have a wrestle." And then he goes too far, and he doesn't take it in the friendly way it was meant, and he goes way too hard, way too fast, which is just typical of a Frenchman in a wrestle. Anyway, I'd had a few too many drinks. Here's what happened. I said, "Oh, Francis, let's have a wrestle." Wink, wink. Obviously, the suggestion that two kings should wrestle in front of their subjects was blatantly absurd. Only someone like him, with an ego the size of an entire nation, would take that seriously. God damn it. And he got weird about it. And he got weird. And he made the whole thing weird. And it was awkward for everyone. And he really didn't need to do that. So yeah, everyone blames me. But Francis was the one who really ruined the vibes. And quite frankly, I find it a little bit embarrassing that true Englishmen would bring that story up and assume it's true. God damn it. Beat this goddamn bird lady. Great. Dead again. Awesome. Love this. And he also cheated. You know, he cheated. He kicked me in the shin as I approached. And yeah, I have nice calves. And I get a bit worried when someone, frankly, goes below the belt and strikes at my calves. I didn't take it well. I went a bit defensive. And he used that as an opportunity to get under me and flip me. Not really how men fight, is all I'm saying. I'm going to go back and kill some more peasants because I'm just getting my ass kicked here and it's, quite frankly, it's fucking embarrassing.